Hi, we're Ariel,
and Michelle,
and
and we're
we're
the
the
Board
Board
Game
Game
Tutors.
Tutors.
Today we're going to be talking to you about the Sand Goblins Faction from the Summoner Wars Master Set. This is our advanced concepts video on the Sand Goblins Faction. So let's go ahead and check out the cards in this set. So first, this is your starting setup card. So this shows you where all your units start at the beginning of the game. And on the other side of this card, it lists all of your event cards, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. And it also tells you what you do on every turn. And here's a wall from the Sand Goblins.
Next, we have your summoner. His name is Krusk. He rolls 2 dice. He's a summoner, so he doesn't have a summon cost. He's a ranged fighter, and he has 6 hit points, so not too shabby. He has a fair amount of hits that he can take before he dies. His special ability, one of the most interesting special abilities among the abilities that summoners can have, Sandstorm. After your movement phase, you may spend 2 magic points to choose up to 3 units that are within 3 spaces of Krusk. Move each of the chosen units up to 1 space. Roll a die for each moved unit. On a result of 4 plus, the moved unit receives 1 wound marker. So, for the most part, this is a really heavy text-driven ability. Um, so after your movement phase, so after you're done moving all 3 of the units that you choose to move on your turn, um, you can spend 2 magic points, so you pay those, and then you choose up to 3 units. Now, when I first read this card, I was really confused by it. I didn't understand why you would move 3 of your own units and potentially hurt them. Like, not always, but potentially hurt them. But I realized the way this is useful primarily is you have to get Krusk not too far back, probably somewhere in the middle of your area, and have him somewhat defended, like possibly with a wall in front of him or something like that. Um, and It's within 3 spaces of Krusk. So you would use this on enemy commons. And actually, it's not even just commons, 3 units. So you could do this to anyone commons, champions, summoners. So let's say there were 3 enemies out on the other side of the board over here. Let's say there was one guy here, one guy here, and one guy here. Um, the way you can make this pay off for you is it basically gives you an extra attack because this is after your movement phase but before you attack. So all these guys are within 3 spaces of Krusk. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You can, like it says here, move each of the chosen units up to 1 space. So you can just choose. You can move this guy here. You can move this guy over here. You can move this guy over here. Um, and after you've moved them, you roll a die for each of those units. So I would not advise spending the 2 magic points on this unless you really can take advantage of it. I would not use this to move only 1 person if only 1 person is within 3 spaces, because that's an inefficient use of your magic. Try to do 2, especially try to do 3. So for each one you move, you say, okay, the scavenger, I'm going to roll a die. I got a 5. 4 5s and 6s, they get a wound. So now that person has a wound. Then I do the same for that guy. 3 didn't work. Do the same for that guy. Didn't work. So the goal here would be to hopefully use this ability to finish off people who are already hurt. But it doesn't always work that way, but that would be good. And occasionally I'll use this to attack 2 people. And then let's say I have a common that has enough hit points on him. Let's say he has 2 hit points left. I would use this possibly to push him forward while drawing in 2 enemies or something along those lines. You can use your imagination. It's really versatile.
All right, now we're going to talk about the common units for the Sand Goblins. So first here is a scavenger. The scavenger costs 1 magic to summon. He rolls 1 die. He's a melee fighter, so he needs to be adjacent in order to attack. And he has 2 hit points. His special ability is scavenge, which makes sense because he's a scavenger. If a unit destroyed by this scavenger would be placed in your magic pile, instead place it under the scavenger. Whenever one or more wound markers would be placed on this card, discard a card from under this card to prevent those wound markers. So notice here, this card doesn't say may anywhere, so these things are required. When the scavenger is about to destroy a unit, or when he destroys a unit, he has to put it under him. It can't become magic for you, which can be somewhat of a handicap if you're trying to build magic to summon. And then he automatically, if he has a card under him, discards that card in order to ignore the one or more wound markers that are being given to him at one time.
So let's pretend Krusk is a unit that the scavenger just destroyed. Like, I know he's a summoner, but let's just pretend he's a regular old unit. So if he was destroyed by the scavenger, then the scavenger stays where he is. But Krusk, not Krusk, that regular unit would be placed underneath him. So that it says unit. So you could use this to destroy a champion or a common unit and put it underneath the scavenger. Now that scavenger, he essentially has a shield. Like, you can see this huge backpack that he has. That person, I don't know exactly what the thematic sense behind this is, but he uses that person that he defeated as a shield. So when someone attacks him on the next turn, he will take no damage on the first attack. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah, and it happens for any number of wounds that would be given at one time, so basically from a single attack.
So let's say someone attacked the scavenger with a person who rolled 3 dice. That would not be smart, because if all 3 dice were successful, the scavenger's just like, oops, I just get rid of this card, I'm okay, and I don't take any damage whatsoever. So if you were attacking a scavenger, for example, you would probably want to use a weaker fighter against him first, a scavenger that has a card under him. You want to use a weaker fighter against him first, a person who rolls 1 die, and then you roll that die, and then he would be forced to give up his shield, and now use your stronger person against that scavenger. Now you can actually do him actual damage.
Okay. The next common unit is the javeliner. He costs 1 magic, rolls 1 die, is ranged, and has 2 hit points. And his ability is pretty simple. It's called camouflage. This javeliner cannot be attacked by non-adjacent units. So if you have a ranged unit going against him, it's going to have to get adjacent to him before it can attack him.
Right. So, I guess imagine him with his flowing skirt, just ducking into a sand dune, and just disappearing, and you can't see him unless you're right on top of him.
That's right. Okay, then the third common unit is called a shaman. He costs 1 magic, but rolls 2 dice. He's a ranged fighter and has 1 hit point. And his ability is called escape. After attacking with a shaman, you may spend 1 magic point to immediately move the shaman up to 2 spaces. So he could move in any direction if you spend 1 magic after he attacks, but the name, of course, implies that he probably wants to run away from the person he just attacked, because he does only have 1 hit point.
And he has 2 dice, which is helpful in many situations, but like we said, he only has 1 hit, so you don't really want him in the action. So escape can help you get out of a sticky situation, but personally, my preferred method of using escape, because it's not always useful, is, let's say the shaman is here. Let's say the shaman started out the turn here. Then he moved forward 2 spaces. He attacks somebody over there. I see my hand. He attacks somebody in front of him, and then he uses escape to go 1, 2 to hide behind a wall, because it's not that useful just to back up 2 spaces, because usually the enemy can just chase you down and attack you with a ranged fighter, and the shaman isn't that strong to begin with. So that's that.
Okay, now we're going to talk about the champions.
So the first champion, his name is Creep. He rolls 3 dice. He costs 4 magic to summon. He's a melee fighter. He can only attack adjacent people, and he has 6 hit points, so pretty strong. His special ability is Cowardly. This isn't really a special ability, actually.
It's more like a disability.
It's a disability, disadvantage. At the end of your turn, if Creep is adjacent to an enemy unit, roll a die. On a result of 1 or 2, discard Creep. So, this is a really bad ability, like we said, because, let's say, for example, this shaman was an enemy unit, and Creep, let's say Creep did his job. He rolls 3 dice, so that's pretty scary. And he's a melee fighter, so he has to get right up into someone's face to attack them. Let's say, for example, he attacked this enemy unit here with 3 dice, and let's say he killed it when he rolled the 3 dice. Great. But now he has this other enemy unit still next to him. So at the end of your turn, if you still, at the end of your turn, the controlling player of creep, you must roll a die. If you get a 1 or a 2, he is discarded. So those 4 magic you spent for him, they just go away. He rolled a 5. He has been listening to his motivational tapes, and he is not cowardly, and he will live to run around and fight another turn. Creep, like you said, if you roll a 1 or a 2, it's a 2 out of 6 chance that you'll roll a 1 or a 2. So, like that chance you just saw, he did not run away, and basically he would be discarded. So,
if he got a roll,
if he got a 1 or a 2. So, sometimes he's good and he survives by himself, but that can be a pretty bad ability. So you have to be careful. Don't move him in to a situation where he's going to be surrounded with enemy units if you can help it. And yeah, so that's creep for you. Let's go to the next champion. Let's see here. This is Biter. He rolls 3 dice, which is pretty awesome. Costs 4, which is really nice for 3 dice. He's a melee fighter, and he has 6 hit points. He has identical statistics to Creep.
Mm-hmm.
And his ability, which is also a disability, not as bad though, is called Crazed. When Biter is adjacent to an enemy unit, Biter cannot be moved. So let's say, for example, the wall is here, and you summon Biter onto the field for 4 magic, right in front of the wall. But there is an enemy unit right here on the start of the turn. So if you summon Biter onto this spot at the beginning of the turn, he cannot move this turn. So basically, all he can do is attack, because you can imagine thematically he is biting his opponent, and he will
doesn't
not
know how to
let go. So all he can do is attack this person. So if you were hoping Biter would be able to push forward and go after a champion or something like that, no, I'm sorry, he has to take care of this enemy unit that is adjacent to him first. So yeah, that is his disability. Lastly, we have Silts. He rolls 2 dice, not quite as good. He costs 7 magic, which is kind of a lot compared to the 4 for the other 2 guys. He's a melee fighter, and what a surprise, he has 6 hit points again. He has an ability. His ability is called Cunning. Once per turn, at any time on your turn, Silts may exchange places with a unit that he is adjacent to. So this is an excellent card. It's well worth its 7 magic because it is useful in many situations. For example, let's pretend the most obvious uses are Silts with Creep or Silts with Biter. So, for example, let's say we are attacking this javeliner, who is an enemy javeliner, and Creep goes in to attack. And Silts goes in behind him. Creep rolls his 3 dice because he's awesome. Okay, I did not kill that javeliner. I only did 1 attack, successful attack. So now I can use Silts' Cunning ability, and he can switch places with Creep, go in front of him. So now Creep's cowardly ability will not come into play because he is not next to an enemy unit, and Silts can finish the job. 1 hit, the javeliner is now dead. So you can use that to attack enemy commons, enemy champions, that sort of thing. And yeah, that's that. And also, another really useful thing you can do is, let's say, for example, this enemy common unit was here, and Krusk, or not Krusk, but let's pretend he's an enemy summoner. He was right here. He's using this common to shield him from Silts. Not really, because Silts can now use his Cunning ability, switch places with that common, and go after the summoner directly. So, Silts' ability can be very, very useful in any given situation, primarily with Creep and with Biter. So you can use Silts to exchange places with Biter, so that way Biter can move, because he won't be adjacent to an enemy unit anymore, presumably.
All right, let's talk about the event cards. Shiny. All units you control that have the scavenge ability, which of course refers to all the scavengers, gain the following ability until the end of this turn. Stolen weapons. Add 2 to this unit's attack value if there are 1 or more cards under this unit. So as we discussed earlier, when you have a scavenger and it kills a unit, that unit goes under the scavenger. So now this event card, Shiny, is going to affect all of the scavengers that have a card under them, at least 1 card under them. It's going to add 2 to their attack value, so they're suddenly able to roll 3 dice for this turn, and this would apply to all scavengers you have as long as they have at least 1 card under them.
So this card is very specific. You have to have a scavenger that has a card underneath it. If you don't, this card is useless and doesn't give you any benefit. So, yeah.
You would want to build it for magic in that case.
Yeah, you want to build it for magic if it's not going to be useful anytime soon. All right.
Okay, next event card, Duck and Cover. All Sand Goblin units you control gain the following ability until the beginning of your next turn. Camouflage. This Sand Goblin cannot be attacked by non-adjacent units. So normally which unit? The Javeliner. Yeah. Normally Javelineers have camouflage, which means you always have to be adjacent in order to attack them. But when you play this card for that turn only, all of your Sand Goblin units have that same ability. So your opponent can't attack them unless your opponent is adjacent to them.
So you'd use this, let's say Krusk is in a semi-vulnerable position. You would use this to make him camouflage, so they would have to be adjacent to him to attack. Same thing for the shaman. That could be really useful for him because, he's not very strong and you don't want him to die. Mm-hmm. So you might use that to help protect him. And there are 3 copies of Duck and Cover.
Mm-hmm. Mirage. 1 at a time, you may place each wall that you control on any empty space on your side of the battlefield. Remove up to 3 wound markers from each wall placed in this way. You may summon units during this event phase.
So, many aspects about this. You want to go ahead and... also, the first thing that you could do is this wall that you have, especially if you have multiple walls that are damaged, you can remove 3 hits off of that wall and move it anywhere on your half of the board. You can be crazy and put it over here, or you want to change tactics and you want to put it over here. Or let's say it was here on the right at the midline and it was really badly hurt. Now you can take it, switch it, remove 3 damage, and move it over here instead. Basically you can make an opening for yourself. Let's say your opponent thought that area was blocked because your wall was in the way. Now you move that wall out of the way and you can charge in with someone else. And lastly, you can summon units during this event phase. Very, very important. Now, let's say your wall was here and then you move your wall over here. Now you can summon people on their half of the board, which can totally freak them out and catch them off guard.
Okay. How many Mirage cards are there?
There are only 1.
Okay.
So, yeah, you only have 1 in your whole deck.
Which makes sense because it is pretty powerful. Now we have Taunt. Choose up to 2 common enemy units. 1 at a time, place each of the chosen units adjacent to a Sand Goblin you control that is within 3 spaces of the chosen unit. So, as the name says, Taunt, the Sand Goblins basically they basically use taunting in order to get their enemies closer to them so that they can attack them.
So, for example, I'm not going to do a really complicated one here, but let's say this shaman's over here defending his summoner over there. But let's say, for example, I have my wall here and I have 1 unit, right? Let's say, let's say I had my javeliner right here. So, this javeliner wants to get at that enemy summoner, but he can't because there's a shaman in the way. Now you can use Taunt to choose 2 common enemy units. So you can just choose 1, 2, up to 2 common units, enemy units. 1 at a time, place each of the chosen units adjacent to a Sand Goblin unit within 3 spaces of the chosen unit. So Silts is here, 1, 2, 3. He can grab this shaman, pull him all the way over here, and he just has to go adjacent to Silts. So you want to freak out the shaman a lot, put him all the way back here. So you just completely taunted him into a really big trap, and you've got a bunch of guys around him to kill him. And that Javeliner now has an open shot. He can go after Krusk. All right.
Okay.
Those were
That
all
was
the
the
cards.
last one.
And yeah.
So that's our commentary on the Sand Goblins faction from the Summoner Wars Master Set.
If you guys have any questions, please let us know. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you in the next video.
Thanks so much for watching.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye.